The reality, sadly, is that this budget abdicates the government's responsibilities to the weakest in our society, the segments of our economy that are in tatters, and the Aam Aadmi who have reposed their faith in this government have been let down totally in the last 7 years. I could spend hours explaining why this is so, but given the limited time available to my party, let me stick to a few examples, and I'll pick 4 today where the budget has betrayed the most fundamental expectations from the nation: health, fiscal stimulus, defence and agriculture. First, health. Given the unexpected challenges we have collectively faced since last year, which has destroyed both lives and livelihoods, the people of our country expected revolutionary allocations for healthcare. While thanks to the countless sacrifices of our healthcare warriors, our frontline workers, researchers, scientists, doctors, we are now in a position where the light may finally be visible at the end of the tunnel, but the budget has delivered a blow to our hopes of expanding and developing the healthcare ecosystem of our country. Sadly, the government, in its peculiar wisdom, has chosen the path of deception rather than mature governance. We all initially praised the Finance Minister's declaration of a 137% increase in the healthcare budget, which included big-ticket schemes like the Pradhan Mantri Atmanirbhar Swasthya Yojana, Swasthya Bharat Yojana, 64,000 crores, a total outlay of 2,23,000 crores in this budget year compared to 94,000 in the last one, a substantial increase. But when we turn to the annex, as instructed by our own Finance Minister, the deception lying in store was breathtaking. Out of these claimed allocations, 35,000 crores is just a one-time expenditure for the ongoing COVID-19 vaccination program. Another 60,000 crores actually for the Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation. So as a result of this, of the 2,23,846 crores mentioned by the Honourable Finance Minister, the actual allocation to the Department of Health and Family Welfare of this government to walk the talk in matters of national security and defence, especially given the unexpected clashes with China over the course of last year, that no doubt caught our own government by surprise, perhaps given how very much they had hyped the PM's purported rapport with his Chinese counterpart. Instead, we have a government minister helping the Chinese make the case that they are more sinned against than sinning, part of the government's efforts to underplay the crisis after the Prime Minister claimed no territory had been lost. This government has a duty to ensure that our armed forces are safe and well supported, and that they have all the tools and resources they need to keep aggressors at bay, not to pretend that there is no problem when we know there is. I'm shocked that the Honourable Finance Minister did not even mention the word defence in her speech. We really expected from this government an effort to support our long-pending modernisation and acquisition programs. But despite all the chest-thumping and sloganeering about the supposed 18.5% increase in capital outlays, the numbers show us clearly that in matters of national security, the government's talk of nationalism is hollow. It's full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. The capital outlay allocation, rupees 1.35 lakh crores, is only 0.47%, 0.4% higher than the 2020-21 revised estimates of 1.34 crores. Just the previous year, before Galwan, the Defence Committee of this Parliament had recommended a 35% increase. Where is 35% and where is 0.4%? Despite all the deafening proclamations by its members, this government, even in the face of such grave threats as we're facing now, has kept the proportion of capital expenditure to the overall defence budget at 25%, far smaller compared to the UPA era, because our government consistently had it at 30 to 32%. It's a matter of shame for all members of this House that we have a government that has repeatedly proven incapable of offering any considerable financial support to our armed forces at a time when the threat of a two-front war has grown dramatically. To use one of their favourite words, this is truly anti-national. Fourth example, Mr. Chairman, agriculture. in these last few months with rising agricultural distress, compounded by the undemocratic passage of 3 farm bills with widespread adverse ramifications for the agrarian economy, we have witnessed nationwide protests by farmer groups whose very survival is at stake. Even as the government in their obduracy failed to engage constructively with the farmers, one hoped that at least the budget would take cognizance of their distress and offer tangible measures to address and alleviate their current plight. No such luck here in this budget. Shastri ji gave us the slogan, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. Modi ji's contribution to this budget is Na Jawan, Na Kisan. Now we must recognize that the current nationwide protests led by peaceful farmers who've been unconscionably sidelined by the undemocratic farm bills reflects only the tipping point. But the rot in the sector has been prevalent for a long time thanks to this government's myopic approach, which continues in the current budget. The overall budget of the department saw a minuscule increase of 5% from last year's revised estimates, but was 8% below the budget allocated last year. Similarly, despite the government's assurances, the budget does little to assuage the fear of the farmers regarding MSP. The 2 schemes that ensure MSP, Market Intervention Scheme and Price Support Scheme, and Pradhan Mantri Annadata Aay Sanrakshan Yojana, have witnessed consecutive reductions in the last 2 years, leading to a 20 to 25% cut in this year's budget. I heard the Prime Minister mention MSP. I didn't hear him mention a quarter of the budget for it has been cut. Much was made by this government about the flagship PM Kisan scheme just before the elections, as you may remember. But despite being one of the major direct cash transfer schemes and therefore in direct need of a rise in allocation, the scheme has witnessed a 10,000 crore rupee drop of 13%, in other words, in its allocation. The disbursal amount of 6,000 rupees per farmer under PM Kisan has not been enhanced either, nor has the scheme been extended to tenant farmers, sharecroppers, women farmers, Adivasi farmers, who've all been excluded from this benefit from the start. Instead, no, it's true. Instead, 2,326 crores was transferred to 40 lakh ineligible beneficiaries. This is from the government's own figures. Even the previous head of Aadhaar said that he received the PM Kisan payment for which he was not entitled. So suit boots are receiving the government's money, but what are the farmers getting? Even worse is the plight of the fishermen. In my own constituency, Mr. Chairman, I've seen them devastated by Cyclone Oki, the floods of 2018 and 2019, and now the pandemic. But this budget has not only denied them any relief, let alone a special relief package. There is nothing in the budget in terms of fiscal support, diesel subsidies, lower GST, nothing. Nets and fishing equipment even they have to buy at the price they paid before the pandemic and before all these calamities. You've given relief to tea garden workers in Assam and Bengal, where you believe the ruling party has a chance. But you've ignored thousands of tea workers in Tamil Nadu and Kerala. And I think we can understand why, but is this fair? Frankly, sir, we are looking at a very sad situation. उच्च वर्ग के गिने चुने कुछ व्यापारी को फायदा है, मुल्क चलाने को बतलाओ, ये भी कोई कायदा है? Anyway, at a time of unprecedented civil, political, economic distress in our country, this government had a great chance to show us that it was willing to bring this country back together. That was precisely what we expected from the union budget, a platform through which this government could actually display a bold vision for reviving the economy and offering much-needed relief to our citizens who have had to face one of the most challenging periods in contemporary history. Instead, our citizens have been left thoroughly disappointed by the government's repeated mediocrity in matters of policy making.